the regular meeting of the Lincoln Way Community High School District 210 Board of Education for Thursday, September 15th, 2022. Please rise for the pledge if you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Janik.
Here.
Ms. Janice Doyle. Here. Mr. Kirking. Mr. Lacine.
Here.
Mr. Lucetti.
Here.
Mrs. Stokes. Mr. Kostick.
Here. We have no one signed up for any public comment this evening, so moving right along to the budget hearing. This time we'd like to open the floor to anyone that might like to address anything regarding the proposed fiscal year 2023 budget.
Do you have anyone signed up for public comment during this?
No, nothing for that either.
So I feel like it's most appropriate to make my comments now just during the hearing portion rather than later in the action part of the meeting. So if you can, all of the attachments for the adoption of the FY23 final budget are under action, but they're also under this public hearing section. Last month I presented the FY23 budget in detail, and as you know, that's typical because the tentative budget's the one placed on public display. And tonight I'm only going to highlight any meaningful changes. If you would open the attachment in board docs called the Final Budget Cover Memo, this document is the one that I'm going to walk through. The budget presented last month projected a $1.6 million operating surplus, which was about 1.5% of operating expenses planned for the year. The final budget tonight has shifted positively, and it's at 1.83 million operating surplus, or 1.7%. As I mentioned last month, it was important for us to bring you a budget that puts us in a position to keep the 33% operating fund balance. I know that's been a long-time goal of the boards and one that we achieved, and we celebrated at the close of last fiscal year. Please, if you will, scroll to page 2, and I'm going to summarize just the changes from last month to now. This is my first full budget for us in District 210. So I've implemented a method of salary and benefits budgeting called position budgeting, and that's down to the account and the individual level. And so I'm hoping that that refinement will help me track at a very accurate way throughout the year. And so there have been some shifts to the individual accounts and in the budget for salaries. That combined with personnel changes as we've gotten the year up and running have allowed me to refine that further. I did adjust our benefits budget a little bit for recent medical insurance bills. We have been trending better, and that's good news. We had 1 month that ticked up a little bit, and so I would just rather remain pretty conservative after last year's medical bills came in how they did. My hope is that throughout the year, I can update you and indicate that I was more conservative than necessary. There were a few line items that we refined district-wide, but not very many. Transportation costs remain high, as you know, labor costs, fuel, utilities. Contracted services, they're all up notably, so we did adjust a few budget lines in those areas. And then finally, I increased contracted services in the special education area just a little bit from last month to now, and that's just based on students' instructional needs. It's not uncommon in this area, specifically for some low incident needs where we don't need a full-time staff member, where we feel contracted services is best at this time. On the revenue side, I mentioned last month that the state's allocation to us had increased fairly notably for CPPRT revenue, and I had promised I would make that adjustment. I did. And then as you, as a board know, and I've been giving you updates over the last week or so, we've worked pretty proactively with PMA as our investment advisors and built that investment plan out. I won't go into detail, but I will share that the tax distribution we received today from the county, we have 2 tax distributions, September 15th and September 29th this month. And I'm predicting just shy of 40 million, but the split on that was pretty favorable for cash flow. We got 35 million today. So that might allow us a little bit more flexibility. I spoke with PMA today, and we have another call Monday. We might shift our investment plan just a touch here and get into some 3 and 6 month things. We also know the Fed's got their meeting coming up on the 21st. So we're keeping an eye on all of it, trying our best to not time the market, if you will, but to be smart about what we're doing. And then finally, I did not make substantial adjustments to property tax revenues on the whole, but I did make some shifts into which funds they are distributed. The top of page 3 in this memo outlines that in more detail, but what I want you to know tonight is we've accounted for projected surpluses in each operating fund, but we've also considered each individual fund's starting fund balance, and we use that to gauge where additional monies should go. That might impact this year, but it might also impact future years. I'm trying to protect cash flow so that we don't have to do as many interfund loans and such in future years. Moving down page 3, I make note of the discussions we had last month just on the timing of tax revenues, pre-funding capital, restructuring of debt, and as we mentioned, we're cash accounting. So none of those are an issue with daily operations, but as a reminder, we will have an all funds deficit this year due to those timings. Last month, the projected all funds deficit was about 2.9 million, and so it's shrunk accordingly just with the increase of the operating surplus. Final budget all funds deficit of $2,547,879. Operating surplus $1,834,450. So again, that's a 1.7% operating surplus, and should position the district to close this fiscal year by maintaining our 33% operating fund balance. Supporting documents and board docs are the same as last month. They have simply been updated to reflect the information I've shared tonight. Mm-hmm.
Any further questions or comments? With that, we'll close the budget hearing and move on to curriculum and instruction update.
We need a motion on that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Motion to close the budget hearing.
So move.
All in favor signify by saying aye. It's unanimous, the ayes have it. Now, moving on to curriculum and instruction update.
Good evening. I'm Renee Goldie, Director of Curriculum. Tonight, I just want to give you some insight into what we have already started working on for our curriculum review cycle in this school year. As you all are familiar, board policy charges the superintendent with organizing a comprehensive curriculum aligned with those 7 ideal basic points for our curriculum. This year, as we address those, we are looking particularly at the what, the why, and the how of our curriculum. First, we're looking at what are we teaching, why we're teaching it, and how we actually know it works. When we look at what we are teaching, our teachers on our half-day school improvement days are meeting in course groups by departments, and they are engaging in some curriculum review cycle processes. Some committees are doing just that and looking at particulars. The remainder of the teachers are working in course groups, going through to create something called a scope and sequence, which I have a picture of for all of you to look at the end. The what are we teaching specifically addresses the knowledge and skills and the abilities. It's the what, it's the meat and bones of what we're doing. It aligns with all of the state requirements, the state standards, and everything that the state has in instructional mandates. The why we are teaching at it is really where the discussions are coming from our teachers. Why are we teaching this? Why is it important? That comes from the specific content passion of many of our teachers. As well, our teachers are looking at our students. With everything they've been through in the past couple of years, why are we doing this? Why is it that our students need to learn these particular skills? And finally, we are taking a closer look at how well does our curriculum work? How do we evaluate it? Not just that we're following the standards or that we're putting great content into practice, but is it working? How do we evaluate it, and what is it that we're going to look at? Last meeting, Dr. Murphy talked to you and gave an overview of our state assessments, but there's other ways for us to measure our curriculum and see if it works for our students, so our course groups are doing that. This is an example of the scope and sequence that our course groups, course by course, are filling these out. And you can see, I apologize, hopefully on your documents you can zoom in a little if you'd like to look a little closer at it. But this scope and sequence gives an overview of each course that we offer in the district. So we will have one of these for every particular course that we have that looks at the units and the what and the why and the how. Our goal is by the end of this school year, hopefully by first semester, we will have a scope and sequence in place, and we'll be able to publish those on our website for transparency to all. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Mr. Scully, today we have Brian Scully from DLA with us. Hi, Brian. Once Mike gets connected.
For it to pop up here. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a kind of a review of the construction projects from this past summer, where we came from, what's done, and then what is yet to be completed. So we're going here. So we had really 5 projects going on. The first one, general remodeling project, so general trades that covered several buildings. The first part here was at Central at this building, and it was the foods room, the foods lab. And you can see pictures of the old foods lab here, kind of an island setup or peninsula setup with the old ranges, a lot of old wooden casework cabinets, the several rollaway walk-in cooler or rollaway coolers instead of walk-in coolers. In a room that just had kind of become outdated. So we go along here. This is what it looks like now, and actually I apologize. These pictures could be even more updated. This was taken a couple weeks ago. So what happened here is we switched to kind of this island setup instead of these peninsulas, allowing for more space for the students, moved all the cooking functions to the exterior, put some monitors in the room, cameras, so as the teacher who has a cooking top now in her teaching station, she can, the kids can kind of see what's going on. There's glass into the storage room behind, so the prep area is now being able to be supervised. This picture, the glass is not in there. It was being delivered at the time, so the glass that's in there now is actually frosted in the middle, so it also acts as a whiteboard. So we can do our teaching there while still having kind of that supervision into the other space. Over at East, we attacked a couple of things here. We had the paint that had been peeling from the ceilings, and all the divider curtains were just kind of worn out, and it was time for replacement of those. At the same time as we're painting the ceilings and the joists and the structure and everything, getting new curtains, might as well look to do a paint upgrade to the entire space. And so this is what it looks like now. We've installed some branding, the big Griffin logo there on the weight room side of the field house. New curtains as well, though the curtains are rolled up here so you can actually see what's happening with all the paint throughout the space and some of that branding. Over at West, we took the, pardon me, the student SSO office, I believe. Is it? Sorry, Special Services Office. I confused my acronyms there. And they needed a conference room and kind of a reimagination of how the space laid out so it could be just more functional and get more people into it. So we actually took the reception desk that we designed for you 12, 13 years ago and pushed that in the room, which is what you're looking at here, and just kind of pushed it out more into the space, took over a storage room to create an extra office, took an office and created a conference room, and then there's a storage room behind now. So we also added some storage on the walls in the form of cabinets to make up for some of the spaces that we took away for the extra conference room. Over the transportation center, the roof has been an issue for a long time. The district has been doing a great job chasing down leaks, what they could in a roof that really was really old, and there was just really nothing left that we could do with it. So you can see the previous conditions. You can see where it's been caulked and recaulked several times, just trying to get another year out of it. And this is what it looks like now. So in 2 portions of the building, we ripped off the roof entirely. And put on a new metal roof with some insulation. In the far back section, we were able to put new roofing over the old roofing because that was a newer section. It did not need to be completely replaced. We were able to go right over the top, which was a nice cost savings to the district and also helped with the schedule. So another project we had was roof replacement restoration. So this was also at East over the same field house, locker room areas, and portion of the lobby space. Your existing roof was a gravel, so a ballasted roof with a built-up roof surface underneath. A huge area. And per the roof plan that we've had in place of the district for several years now, it was just kind of the next one that was up. So it had some repairs along the way, but it was well past its warranty life, and it was just time to stay ahead of it before it became a problem. So this is what the roof looks like now. This is a newer system for the district as compared to what we've done in some previous years. This is what you see that's white is obviously the new roof, and this is a system that basically is a poured system that encapsulates everything below it. So they took off all the gravel, repaired any places that needed repair, helped with some of the pitch to get water to the drains, and then pour this many layers of this kind of white stuff over the top that encapsulates the roof, almost like it's not epoxy, but if you imagine a table where you used to make a coffee table out of pennies and, and put the urethane over the top, you kind of imagine it's a similar idea. So that was completed this summer as well. So site work. Site work right now, I'm sorry, the site work pictures disappeared on me here. Okay, well, the site work is underway, and this is at Central, and because of the strike, I'm gonna try and find a mic. Okay, so because of the strike at the quarries, the site work project did not start at the beginning of the summer. The options were basically to pay more money to go outside the boundaries of where we are to try and bring in stone and whatnot. But the amount of time we were going to gain is just not something that really was a value to the district. So instead, waited, the strike did end, and the work is underway right now. And so at Central, we're doing essentially what we did at West last year, which was to remove the baseball paths and then widen the baseball paths and then baseball softball paths, I should say, and then create ADA accessibility. So right now, if you know, to go watch a baseball or softball game, you can't really get down there unless you're pretty able-bodied, especially with the hill that we have, the grade changes here at Central. So they're creating basically switchback ramps, if you will, but just gradual decline into the lower spaces, concrete pads underneath the bleachers, so it's just going to be better for the district maintenance-wise, and then extending an actual path from the varsity fields all the way down to the junior varsity fields as well, so you're not having to kind of walk through the grass if you have younger kids that are playing, or just for the teams as well, to have an easier path to go to that area. And so that work should be wrapped up probably end of next week. I would say they're going to be done and be ready for a punch list on that project. So the other two projects that you see highlighted here, chiller replacement and mechanical upgrades. As everyone is dealing with right now, supply chain issues. So there were two components of these projects. The mechanical upgrades included cooling for the server rooms at this building, and that portion of the project is done. Everything that was kind of internal to the building was completed. The chillers have been an adventure. We have the chiller, a large chiller that takes care of a large portion of the classrooms at East, a chiller that takes care of the classroom wing at the southeast corner of the building here at Central, and then chillers that are for the auditorium at East. Probably about every few weeks we would get another notice from the and there's two different contractors working on these projects, so different manufacturers as well, and we just kept getting delay notices. So even, I think it was the beginning of this week, we had another delay notice that said now our chiller that was supposed to arrive at the beginning of October is going to be, I think, end of October, beginning of November. So it's happening with all of our clients and all of our projects that had larger pieces of equipment. These pieces of equipment, the chiller at East, the big one, I think was possibly ordered, it might have even been before the first of the year. And we're still waiting, and that's been delayed over and over and over again. The good news is for almost all the equipment, except for the big chiller at East, all your current chillers are working. Chuck and his team are doing a great job for the ones that are at the end of their life, kind of keeping them going. In some cases, we were just jumping ahead again, so we weren't running into an emergency. The emergency chiller that is at East, that's on the flatbed, will remain there until the end of this cooling season. with the idea that whenever it arrives, we can do the swap out of the equipment, and we'll be in the middle of heating season, so it really won't affect anybody in the classrooms when that work is taking place. And that's the summary of this summer. Any questions?
The white stuff on the roofs, does that extend the life expectancy, and is there what's the cost differential?
So the warranty on that is a 20-year warranty. So there's a lot of different ways you can do a roof. There's a value analysis between the warranty you get and the amount of money you're going to spend. 20 years is pretty standard. You can go up to a 30-year roof, which we've done in some places throughout the district, kind of depending on what's underneath there and how difficult those roofs are to get to. While that roof is expected to last past the 20-year warranty, typically, at least DLA standard when we're talking with the district is we want to make sure that it's worth the warranty you're getting. So you get a 20-year warranty, but if the roof is going to fall apart in 18 years, and you're chasing leaks all the time, it's not worth it. So that roof is expected to last past the 20 years, but you get a full 20-year warranty on it.
That new roof system, that's the one that, towards the end of warranty period, to reinstitute a new warranty, it is actually a really low cost, correct? That
You can
retop
go
it.
over that roof. There is, the next cycle in that roof
Yes,
is not
that's where
having
we
to
save our
tear it
money.
off. Correct.
Right.
So, in fact, I'd say with all of the roof types that we've put on over the last, we'll call it 6 or 7 years here, the idea is that as long as your insulation isn't soaking wet because the roof's been failing over and over again, you'll be able to go back over without tearing anything off. So it saves on time, saves on money, of course, and theoretically your roofs can last a lot longer if we're not having to always go back in and touch them.
Do we still have a lot of projects left with needing concrete?
At the moment, no, none of. There's only a little bit of concrete on one of the chiller or a couple of the chillers to put in some concrete posts in the ground. I know what you're getting at because suddenly now concrete is a hard thing to get. There's a shortage of Portland cement, if people don't know. So that should not be a problem because we're talking about a tube, a little bit bigger than this podium. So no, we don't have any big foundations. There is some concrete flat work, but actually they completed, Chuck, correct me if I'm wrong, most of the concrete flat work for the site project is already done. Thank you.
Moving on to the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the regular meeting minutes from August 11th, 2022, approval to hold the closed session minute summaries from January 1st through May 31st, 2022, approval of the payrolls of August 19th and September 2nd, 2022, and personnel reports, and 22-23 compensation reports. Would anyone like anything pulled from the consent agenda for discussion? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Linda, if you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to our action items. Presentation of invoices from August 12th, 2022 through September 15th, 2022.
Motion to approve the invoices in the amount of $5,576,874.39, dated September 15th, 2022.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I did want to make one comment. We were talking a little bit before the meeting. You will notice the $2.4 million in the O&M fund and just a small amount in capital projects. I want you to know that's intentional. So as these go from August 12th through today, we were running some of this summer's capital projects that are paid for out of Fund 60 funds. We were running through Fund 20 for cash flow purposes until you all approved retroactively that transfer last month. We've since made the journal entry, everything's clean on an accounting basis. I just want you to know that's why it looks that way.
Gotcha.
Do we anticipate any more Serve Pro services over at East?
There's nothing further. I have a motion, a second. Linda, if you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the treasurer's report for July and August 2022.
For the month ending August 31st, revenues and expenditures across all funds were $5 million and $9.3 million respectively. Because of property tax receipts trending ahead as of June 30th, lower revenue was expected and did come to fruition in those months. Expenditures included about $2.7 million in bills paid for capital projects. Total cash balance at the close of last month was $40.1 million. Moving down to the year-to-date budget report, 6.7% and 15.9% of budgeted operating revenues and expenses have been realized. In comparison, that was 9.3 and 16.3 last year. And as I mentioned, the revenues are trending behind a little bit on a percentage basis, just to timing differences. But when we exclude property taxes, they're actually slightly ahead. Investment report, again, we've discussed. I'm having bi-weekly conversations with PMA, and I mentioned earlier we've got another call on Monday, and we are planning with the $35 million we got today in property tax revenue, as well as watching for that Fed meeting and what happens. Is it 75 basis points or 100 or whatever they're going to move on the 21st? Blended rate of return is 2.31%, and that will always lag a little bit just because we have that it will lag now, given the trends as they are currently. We do have positive cash variance in these 2 months. I will tell you I anticipate some bills coming in that maybe in past years hit in August and they're going to hit in September. So I do want to note, even though it's a positive cash variance, we might have negative in months coming up, and so that's on me and my team to make sure that we monitor that and keep enough liquid so that we can fund those bills. And then looking ahead, as I mentioned, September, and then last fall, the board approved an interfund loan from working cash into ed for cash flow purposes. I don't have any such loan required or budgeted for this fall. A placeholder in my cash flow detail is slated for the end of March, with smaller amounts into the education and O&M funds. So far, we're trending better than budget, and if that continues, we won't need those at all. But they are in the cash flow detail, and if I need to bring a resolution to you guys in March for that, we can, and then that loan, those monies will be returned to working cash in June. That's all I have.
Any questions?
I did. On the schedule investments, I was just curious because you had the T-bills listed and then you had institution, Illinois School District Liquid Asset Fund. Are you buying these T-bills directly or are you buying some sort of fund?
So ISLAF is PMA, that's the fund through which we work with PMA, and then they handle through ISLAF all of the different investments.
So are we invested in a fund or do we actually buy like a?
Those T-bills we buy, but then through ISLAF, what we have is there's an ICS account that's where they'll take them and they'll distribute our monies across, call that, I think there's 200 and something different, and that's constantly changing. It's relatively liquid. We have a 1-day notice that we need to give to them to get those monies back, but at least that's earning higher than leaving it in something that's, pure liquid money market, so.
No, you're doing, you're 60 basis points above the money market, so I know there's a lag there, so that's
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
I was just curious because I would have thought we would just be buying, so I guess my question is, if you buy a treasury bill, obviously maturity, it should mature at the par, but if you had to sell it and if you had a cash flow issue and you had to sell it, are you able to do that as a school district, like if it was at a loss? It's gonna be a small loss, but.
Technically, we can.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
technically we can. Fortunately, at this time, I don't have to recommend that. to
No,
you.
no, no, I'm not saying you would, I'm not saying you would, I'm just saying that,
You're
obviously,
asking
from
if
a
we needed
liquidity
it from a
standpoint,
liquidity standpoint.
there's a
I
lot of
understand.
school rules that I don't quite understand,
Yeah.
so I didn't know if you could sell it
We
in the
absolutely can.
in the
We-
open market, secondary market.
We absolutely can, and I have colleagues who have had to do that in different scenarios, and they've had to sell at a loss whenever possible, and you obviously know better than anybody, if we can hold that.
Yeah.
You know, we get,
Right.
we get par. So luckily, we're not in that stage right now.
So these are not bullet maturities. You did not go out and buy a $20 million treasury bill with that maturity.
We bought it through, it's maturing on that date, yes. We can get at that money early, when, yes, with a penalty, but, I mean, we could take a loss on it. Is that your,
No, so, okay, just so I understand, this isn't gonna be that, but, so on August 4th, you bought a $20,177,000 treasury bill that matures on March 29th, 2022, and you did that through this fund?
yes.
Okay. And so, and do we have any requirement to mark these to market? To show if there's, if
Let-
that deficiency exists that Chris was just talking about?
If it's okay with you, let me get back to you on the terminology in our ISLAF agreement, because that's something the board approves annually, and I would rather get you the exact terms and answer your question the right way.
No, that's fine. It's just that, as you've indicated, rates are gonna be changing. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not being critical here at all. I think
No, no,
this
no,
is
no, for sure.
outstanding, but come a week from today, that could be underwater.
Well, and that's exactly why, you know, we invested what we can. We're trying not to do the timing piece, because I know we need to get in and we need to strategically do it. But you look at the 20 million now, and you look at some of these rates and where we're headed, and I had the same thought. I'm thinking, okay, I want to be thoughtful here, and I want to maximize what we can. Let me get back to you on exact terms and what any penalties would be. I would rather come with concrete info for you.
If there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report for July and August 2022 as presented. A motion and a second. Linda, if you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the student activities report for August 2022.
Student activities report is located in your packet of materials. Current balance of $2,288,266, and there are no negative balances at the conclusion of the month. I ask that you approve the report as presented.
Is there a full moon? Not a single one, huh?
It's 2 months in a row, I think.
That is what I was going to say. Any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the student activities report for August 2022 as presented. Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Linda, if you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the adoption of the fiscal year 2023 budget. As we've, the
I think,
hearing
well, obviously it's been presented and discussed. If there's any additional questions, I mean, we could ask for a motion, a second, and then discussion. That might be the way to go about it.
all right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Now, are there any further questions?
And I hope that was okay with you. I'm accustomed to doing
we
any
appreciate
updates
it.
during the hearing, just in case there's anyone that does want to speak during public comment. They have the full revisions and information at hand.
Appreciate that. That's a great way of doing it. I think that's very wise. And if there's nothing further, I would like to open the vote. We have a motion and a second.
The vote is open. vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the school maintenance project grant.
The state has released monies again, and every district can apply in varying priority, as you can see here in the memo. Emergency projects down to number 5 other. We have, as you heard Mr. Scully mention, that temporary chiller we're using at Lincoln Way East, and that's where these monies will go. We're hoping to pay for that in part by ESSER funds, but that's not going to cover everything. And so we have a couple of HVAC needs where this $50,000 can easily go, and right now we are on an emergency lifeline with that device. What this requires from you tonight is that you have a motion and you approve this application certification, and then I complete the application with the state from there. Same as we did last year.
Fantastic. Does anybody not want the 50,000? I'm just kidding.
Can we get 100?
No, 50 is the cap.
Nope,
Yeah.
it's just 50.
Can I get a motion to approve the, can I get a motion to approve the school maintenance project grant application as presented?
So moved?
A motion and a second. Linda, if you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to technology purchase for student devices.
We've got Cheryl Kay with us this evening to give us an overview. This is our continued move to one-to-one. As we know, all students have a device this year, and in the budget for next year is a plan that all incoming freshmen will have one. So Cheryl, please provide an overview, and we can go from there.
Last year, I came to the board in December for purchasing for our next class of student devices. This year, I'm coming in September instead of December to take advantage of some special pricing from Lenovo. So tonight, I'm asking for 1,700 Lenovo 11E convertible tablets at the cost of $430.46 per unit, which is $42 less than our previous price of $472.45 per unit. Lenovo's offering a significant discount because this model is going to be discontinued. They'll continue to provide support for 5 years after the end of sale date, but additional units will not be available after the stock of parts is depleted for manufacturing. Lenovo's provided a couple of other incentives for us, which includes a 4+ school year warranty, which is 4 years plus 6 months because we are purchasing early, and is providing an additional 17 devices, which is 1% of the total purchase, to be used for parts and spares to help us maintain our fleet of devices. The 17 devices are being provided at no charge to the district. As you can see from the quotes that I attached to the board memo, we did investigate a couple of other options with Dell, Acer, and even a couple of options within the Lenovo product line. My recommendation tonight is to continue with our current device. It's the same device our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors currently have. This is a business-grade laptop that Lenovo has been marketing to education. So I'm asking the board to approve the proposal as presented for $731,612, which is within the fiscal year 23 technology budget and a $70,000 savings compared to last year for those purchases.
Just curious, so the memo says that you work directly with Lenovo, and then the invoices are from CDW, but then some of them are from like Microsoft, or are we getting the quotes from the same, like the companies directly, or are they use, is like CDW a middleman?
Lenovo sells through a reseller, and CDW has been our reseller for all of our Lenovo products. So we worked with Lenovo, our Lenovo reps directly with CDW for that pricing. And the one from the Dell quote was from Dell and Microsoft. That was our Microsoft account team, it just as a competitor's bid.
And with the 4+6 months, you said something about the parts, the availability of parts once they're not available anymore, but we're still covered. They would still have those parts for the 4+6 months, no matter
Yes.
what. That's
So,
guaranteed. Okay.
Lenovo has parts available. They will still have parts, but they will not manufacture new devices beyond the sale date, the end of sale date that they've established.
further questions?
So this will be the fourth year, right? So at what
Correct.
point do we need to start looking? So if this is, I mean, it works out, we'll have the warranty for freshmen through senior year. When do we start selecting a device at the beginning of its life cycle, so we get another same devices for, when do you need to start looking at that for the next series of devices for the current eighth graders?
We did look at that this time around, so this purchase would be for the class of 2027 coming in. But I have 3 devices on the table in front of Linda. The black one on the top is our current student device. The one directly under that, it's kind of a dark blue color, is the new product line from Lenovo, which would be their 500W device, and you can pass those around. They are very similar devices. The current device has a network port built into it. Yes, the one in Linda's hand is the current device. The one you have is their next product line that they're replacing that with. And then the other device I compared it to was a Dell device. Okay, Rich, you have the Dell one in your hand. The dark blue colored one is the new product line from Lenovo that we could go to in the future, but we'll also look next year at other vendors. You know, we price things from Acer. I go to a kind of trade show every year to look at devices from all the different manufacturers for the types of devices that we're looking for.
So their new product line, how long do they expect that'll run?
I would say it would probably have the same life cycle as the last one, at least the 4 to 5 year timeframe.
So we could get another group of
Yes.
4 years out of it?
So these devices that we're asking for your approval tonight, these will go to students who will then keep them throughout their duration at Lincoln Way. And then for next year's incoming class, what we're open to, obviously from a tech support standpoint, it's nice to be able to have the same product from the same manufacturer.
Absolutely.
However, we're open to moving, and if they're not as durable, they're not as durable. But what Cheryl's getting at is the kids coming now who are going to get this device, they're going to keep it for the duration.
Correct.
And so we'll get that through.
So every year we'll buy roughly 1,700 devices, and so,
Yeah.
Rich, I
Yep,
think to your
they
point.
keep it through.
Next year,
Yeah, it's a
it'll probably be a new iteration of a Lenovo or a Dell.
Because they cycle
Yes,
out.
it will be, It'll either be a new Lenovo, Dell, something.
So the seniors class just cycles out basically every year.
They'll go with them, yep.
And they have all
how's
these
their
already made.
support been? Like, that's, to me, that's really what you're buying is, I mean, the device is the device, but
Support has been fine. We actually are a Lenovo self-maintainer site right now, so any warranty repairs, we can contact Lenovo directly, have a part shipped to us that we replace it ourselves. We get reimbursed for labor on anything under warranty. We've also been getting parts for non-warranty repairs through one of Lenovo's sub-sites. They ship the parts to us, we replace it and swap things out. It's worked well for us for the last year.
And the 1,700 devices, they already have them manufactured. They're just going to ship them to us, or do they have to actually go out and manufacture them and then send them to us?
They have parts to manufacture all those devices. They said the parts are currently available. It would take their normal 3 to 4 weeks for manufacturing to ship them out.
I was just worried about microchips, and you hear about,
They said they do have piece parts available for these machines. And that was a specific question Mike and I asked when we were talking to them about pricing.
We don't need them until next September anyway. No, even if they do get behind, we don't need them for almost a year, so, good. This is true, too. All right. If there's nothing further, I would entertain a motion to approve the technology purchase as presented. A motion is second. Linda, if you'd open the vote, please.
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. Moving on to our informational items. 843, we've got no
Just the,
Deidre.
report is in your backup materials for your review.
Excellent. FOIA requests.
There was one, part of a FOIA that went out to almost all public schools in Illinois in terms of expulsion data, so we sent that back.
Excellent. Building and grounds,
Just included in your backup materials if anyone has any questions.
asset of the month.
Month for October, decision-making, kids know how to plan and make choices. Have family meetings to talk about plans that affect the whole family, encourage suggestions from your kids as students, let students plan class projects, assignments, even work on schoolwork activities. And then in the community, have youth identify something in the community they'd like to change, then develop a plan for changing it, and take their plan seriously.
Board goals for 2022-23 school year.
We've included in your backup materials board goals. Some we updated the dates, some goals are new. I would just ask the board to take a look at those prior to our next meeting. Any suggestions, please get those to me. Otherwise, we can discuss those at the final reading in October, but you'll see some updates and some new goals.
Legislative report.
Nothing to add at this time.
Superintendent's report.
In the superintendent's report, provided an update on our EL programs. Found it interesting in August of '21. So August of '21, we had 38 EL students. This August, we had 84. We currently have 105. So you can see the growth. We've gone ahead and have given you information on the different breakdowns of languages that are being spoken and taught in those classes. We were able to hire an experienced EL teacher in Dina here at Central and East. She's done a really nice job. Brianna and Mary have been with us for a while. I anticipate in the years to come increasing our hiring. We also have teachers that are interested in moving forward and getting an ESL endorsement that work for us, but this program is only going to grow as we continue. But I wanted the board to have the backup information. Now, it ends, we've gone from 9 sections to 13, so we haven't doubled sections, but those sections are much, much fuller than they were this time a year ago. But just wanted to provide that information just to keep it out there in front of you.
Any other district business?
Nothing at this time.
Anything new with the COVID plan?
Nope, we're just, if you're sick, stay home, and we're moving forward right now. It seems to be working, I knock on wood, but we were off to a good start. In fact, we had no staff call-ins today for illness, so that was a big deal.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Are staff required to take sick days if they have COVID positive, or?
Not right now.
Okay.
No. Yes, Mike?
Just wanted to circle back. I want to provide a timely answer, and I have timely partners. So there is no penalty back to investments, just so I can say this in the open meeting. There's no penalty per se, but it would be market price. So since rates have gone up, there's no additional rules on school districts. Treasuries are pretty liquid for us, but we would incur a loss if we sold it. I would need to run numbers with them to find out exactly how much that is. So hopefully that's at least getting to your question.
Yeah, you only incur the loss if the rates have moved against you, so up. So it's,
Right.
You're basically
Right.
saying it's mark to market.
It would be market price, yep.
Did they indicate that did you have any responsibility to disclose if it would have a loss? I don't know who you're
No.
partnering with here.
That's okay. It's from PMA. No, if we so decided to do it, we would simply sell it. Now, I would, and that's where you've empowered me as the treasurer to make those decisions with PMA through ISLAF. But what I would then do is come back the next month to you, and that would be part of my investment report.
And there was no, we do have correspondence, actually. We got a nice letter from the IASB that we were one of 33 boards to earn the IASB 2022 School Board Governance Recognition designation. So
That's
apparently they think we're doing a good job.
Something to be proud of, and when we receive the award here in October, then we'll have a press release go out, but that is, the board should be proud of that recognition. One of 33 is
Great work, guys.
very good.
Maybe a
Very
leg
good.
lamp, something cool.
That's right.
All right. I was gonna say, 20% raise for everybody? Oh, boy. All right. If there's nothing further, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of employees, establish the sale or lease price of real estate, and student disciplinary cases.
So moved.
I have a Motion and a second. Everyone signify that is in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, it's unanimous. There'll be no action this evening after closed session.